Welcome back, Star Powered family. And if you're new here, aloha and welcome. I'm Leslie Tagorda, Hawaii born astrologer, author of the upcoming book Astrology for Changemakers, coming out in September 2026, and creator of the Astrobrand Method. I light the path for visionaries, healers, and changemakers like you to attune to your strengths, purpose, and power written in your stars so that you can stop fighting who you really are and become the leader you were born to be. If astrology, leadership, and real change through an uncolonized lens are your jam, click subscribe and let's dive in. All right, so welcome again to 2026 in the stars. This is a year of just preparation, right? Like the 2025 has been the year of preparation, and we're really coming into an emergence in 2026. And so as we look ahead, I wanted to really change this up this year and really make it a community building event. And exactly how do we make a community building event with such a global community? Well, the first thing is that we introduce each other. So if you could just type in the chat your name, if you want to share anything about yourself and where you're dialing in from in the world today. I would just love to see, because I know we have people calling in from Australia, people calling in from California, Mexico, just so many places. Olympia, Pasadena, Idaho, Arizona, Germany, Toronto. Oh my goodness. Yes, Australia, Indiana, Grass Valley. Oh my goodness. I get so excited seeing just this like global community. Because what I want to share, what we'll be exploring over the course of this class, this community building event, is that 2026 is really going to be a year of collaboration, of community building. And not just community building, like who are your neighbors, but who are your global neighbors. And as you see all of these places in the world, I want you to notice, is there anybody who maybe lives a mile away from you, maybe anybody in the same country? Because my friends, this is our global constellation, and we're all here working together. Now, if you have been with me for a while, you may know that yes, while we all look to astrology for prediction, I am not one of those astrologers who's going to say, this is going to be a great year for Leo. This is going to be a terrible year for Pisces. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in prediction, but what I do believe in is preparation. Okay, so as we look into the future of 2026, we're looking almost at like a weather forecast. How are we going to prepare ourselves for the shifts that are going to come our way? And so the preparation part, I want you to feel into more than the prediction. As we also look at 2026, you as a change maker, you as an entrepreneur, you as a leader, and yes, even if you don't think you are a leader, you absolutely are a leader. People depend on you. And what I want you to do with this information is not just to hoard it in your brain and try to memorize all the facts. I want you to be able to apply these coming shifts in your industry, in your business, in your job, so that you really can be seen as the change maker, because you have your thumb on the pulse of the collective of what's coming. The next thing that I really want us to all move into is I want you to be able to hear the opportunities, the invitations that the cosmos, that the astrology of 2026 is asking us to make. That's why we do this, right? Is to be able to hear those invitations, different than, again, prediction. It's like you have the free will to be able to open up, to stand into, to desire what opportunities you want to harness from these invitations. And lastly, I want you to be able to integrate this energy into the leader that you are becoming. Even if you are a leader, you are becoming more of a leader. To integrate this energy is to, as you're planning your upcoming year, is to start to make maybe shifts in your offers, shifts in your marketing, shifts in your branding to be seen as this change maker. So, coming back to this global community, what shift feels undeniable as you move towards 2026? And I loved reading the answers to these questions. I loved seeing that people are craving, desiring, like undeniably, that this is a year of expansion. What are you expanding into? This is a year of visibility. I feel this. I feel like this is a year of I'm coming out for me personally, right? And this is similar to that visibility. There's that emergence, whether you're emerging into your power, your reclaimed power, not newfound power. You already had your power. So this is reclaimed power, reclaimed leadership, reclaimed wisdom. Whatever that emergence is, remember that it is a reclamation. So if you didn't answer this earlier, answer this for yourself. Write this down. In 2026, what do you already feel that is undeniable? So this 2025, right? Like, can we all say that this was a really hard year? Really, really, really hard year. And so 2026, we have flexed our muscles in 2025 so that we can fully emerge in 2026. So today, again, we have so much to cover. And this is how we are going to go along this journey. Me as a Sagittarius, I always want to look at the big picture first. I want to get that bird's eye view. So we are going to look at 2026 as a bird's eye view, looking at some of the big waves of energy that is coming for us. And then I'm going to reveal my theme for 2026. From that theme, we are going to then look at 6 of the biggest astrological shifts that are going to uphold that theme. And then lastly, we are going to then look at 6 trends for leadership and business based on these themes. So are you ready for the big picture? So every year, Jeff does an amazing job putting together this timeline of 2026. What I love to see in the timeline is I like to see where energies start to concentrate, because we can look at these as waves in the ocean. When there's a lot of waves happening at one time, of course, we can expect a lot of movement, a lot of change, a lot of energy. And so up across the top, we have our inner planet retrogrades. So we're going to start from the top going down. Now, we have 3 Mercury retrogrades this year. Mercury retrogrades are times when we get to reboot, rethink, reset. Mercury retrogrades are nothing to be afraid about. And this year we have 3 Mercury retrogrades all in water signs. Emotional, intuitive, compassionate, remembrance. And so these Mercury retrogrades go all in Pisces, all in Cancer, and all in Scorpio. So in Pisces season, we're going to recalibrate your intuition. In Cancer season, we're going to reflect on your emotional boundaries. And then in Scorpio season, when Mercury goes retrograde in Scorpio, we're going to be revealing emotional truths. I want you to ponder why our emotional truths, our intuition, and our emotional safety and boundaries are important. Why do we get to recalibrate, rethink these the ways that we speak our emotions and our feelings this year? Why do we get to do that? I'm not going to answer that for you. And then we also have our rare Venus retrograde. Venus, another personal planet, when it goes retrograde once every 2 years or so, allows us to reevaluate what's important to us, what resources, energy, capacity, all of those things that have value and worth to us. Now, this Venus retrograde, reevaluating relational power dynamics. So, my friends, in traditional astrology, Venus retrogrades, we talk about the X's that come back, the money that was lost coming back to us. Well, I'm going to just say that there's going to be a lot of relationship values coming forward during this Venus retrograde. And notice in the timeline of this Venus retrograde that's going to happen in late November, we're also going to be having a Mercury retrograde at the very same time in Scorpio. And so when we're thinking about these two retrogrades, Venus and Mercury run hand in hand almost this entire year. So we're going to be talking a lot about our relationships. And if you're a community builder, which, right, if you have a business, you are a community builder, you depend on talking to people, this is going to really strengthen your ability to speak to people's hearts. Sequoia says, I think as a society, we're all expanding our emotional body and capacity. It's important for our spiritual growth. 100%. And relationships are at the heart of that spiritual growth. Romantic relationships, parent to children relationships, all of those relationships. How can we create deeper, more secure bonds? And I think you're onto something, Sequoia. Indeed, this is a time where we're like one of the big themes. Now, notice at the eclipses, we have 4 eclipses this year. They always come in pairs. Sometimes they come in triplets, like in 2020. We're not going to go all the way back there. But this year, we start to move our eclipses from the Virgo Pisces axes to the Aquarius Leo axes. And so when we have our eclipses starting to shift, this simply means that for all of us, the collective, we're moving away from the spiritual, the Pisces part, the interconnectedness, and now applying that interconnectedness, that compassion for Aquarian themes of humanity, the collective, looking towards the future. So still looking at the big picture, this is another viewpoint of the big picture of 2026. Now, if you have any Virgo placements or you love charts and graphs, isn't this just so beautiful to look at? And even if you don't understand what this means, you can kind of intuit, right? If you're looking at this chart, where are all the peaks and valleys? Ooh, this looks exciting. July, oh my goodness. Maybe end of December, oh my goodness. Well, what this chart is a chart of the relationships that all of the planets in our solar system are having with each other. When we think about aspects, conjunctions, trines, oppositions, all this simply means is that a relationship is forming, and that particular aspect shows us what kind of relationship there will be. Now, one of the things I want you to notice is this big purple wave here. This big purple wave is a Uranus trine Pluto. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, so don't worry about that right now. But this Uranus trine Pluto, we've already started this. It started back in 2025. If this chart went over to the left, you would see that there was already a peak of that. And this extends all the way out into 2028. So when you just think about the themes of Uranus, awakening, disruption, and Pluto, intensifying transformation and rebirth, what does it mean when these two planets of breakthrough and breakdown are in flow? A trine is harmonious and agreement. And so we have this energy that's really fully supporting us, okay? And so to make more sense of this view, I'm bringing us to the cat's cradle. Has anybody played cat's cradle? Or it's many, many hundreds of names, right? Everyone here. Well, did you know that anthropologists believe that the cat's cradle was started all the way in the Stone Age? Isn't that incredible? Because all cultures, indigenous cultures from Australia to the Inuits to Asia, everywhere on Earth, People play this. And when I think about a cat's cradle, and of course, that's a very like modern name for it, right? But we can think about this idea of a cradle. And what do you think about a cradle? Of this string, of this collaboration, because yeah, you can kind of play it by yourself, but mostly we play it with others, right? We're making all of these sacred geometry shapes with cat's cradle. Now, when I used to play it, I didn't really know what I was doing. We were just kind of creating all these different shapes without any form or function. We are just seeing and playing and seeing what would happen. But this was a common shape of this cat's cradle. And this shape, this four-sided shape, if we can just like fill in the sides here, this is called a trapezoid, an isosceles trapezoid. But this year, we have what I am calling the cosmic cradle. How are you being held this year? Because a cradle holds you. A cradle supports you when you're feeling vulnerable, right? And this cat's cradle, you can see it here. This is created for most of July when Jupiter comes into play, right? And when we take a closer look at this cosmic cradle, and let me know, like, when we think about astrological chart patterns, we might think of the grand trine, we might think of like the finger of God, we might think of like the mystic rectangle, right? There's all of these things. I don't think anybody has named this yet. So let me know what you think about this, about the cosmic cradle. 2026 is not a year of pushing. It is a year of committing. It is a year of doing, but it is not a year of pushing. Now, when we look closer at this cosmic cradle, we have involved in this cosmic cradle are four of our outer planets. Saturn's not involved in this one. Saturn's going to be involved in other things, but Saturn's not involved with this one. We have Pluto, whose process is to intensify birth, death, all in one. Whatever dies is reborn much more empowered. Jupiter expands, believes, looks at the silver lining. Uranus disrupts, awakens, and breaks through. And Neptune inspires, transcends, and interconnects. When you think about these words, inspire, breakthrough, breakdown, expand, and you're being called to this, being held in this, being asked to receive all of this, what does that feel like for you? And part of this, I want you to focus in on this little part of this cosmic cradle, because Jupiter moves pretty fast. Jupiter is going to be in this position for only about a month, creating this cradle. But the rest of the year, here and now, and until like the end of the year, we have this shape. Okay, I'm going to go back. So you see the cosmic cradle? Now we have Jupiter moves away, and now we have half. This is something that astrologers have newly been calling the minor grand trine, also known as the talent trine. And so as Felicia had said, how can I hold other people, right? It's not just about me being held, but it's also about me holding others. And how do you hold others? Well, with your talent. Your undeniable, one-of-a-kind talent. And so this is a year that you're going to get super clear. You are going to reframe the doubts or the disbelief or the limiting beliefs that you may have around your talents, because this is in effect right now, holding you, asking you, got a cauldron of them, but which one to focus on? Yes, you know which one you focus on? The one that brings you the most joy. It's as easy as that. And if there's parts of your belief that says, I can't follow my joy, it doesn't pay, then we know that we have some money limiting beliefs to work on. Right? And so when you hear your limiting beliefs, when you hear all of the little devils on your shoulder, this is when you start to befriend them and get deeper. Okay? And so all of these energies here are our big picture energies that are literally holding us as we move into 2026. So if you were here last year in 2025, my theme was compassionate courage, reimagining a new path. And when I wrote this at the end of 2024, how little did I know how much compassionate courage and what a new path I would need. Does anybody feel like this? Like thinking, like looking back on 2025, how much compassionate courage they needed? So as we look at 2025, we then courageously move into 2026. And the reveal of this year's theme, survival of the collaborative. Together we rise. Again, at the beginning, in this global community, we see that we're not here in isolation. We are here together. Stacey Abrams, just such a brilliant, I wish she was in political office right now. She unfortunately is not in political office right now, but she's an amazing author also. She says, when we work together, we are unstoppable. Yes, I love this so much as well. And so I want to take a little pause, because as we think about how are we being held, how are we holding each other, how are we going to survive as we collaborate, we must know our contribution. So what I want you to do at this time is in the chat, but don't press that little like airplane, right? I want you to write in one word or phrase the contribution that you love making. Okay? So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. Don't overthink this. What is your contribution? Healing, listening, supporting, holding space. My friends, those are all worthy, profitable ways to share. Okay? So, everybody have their thing? Have their thing, their contribution all typed out? Ready to press send? 3, 2, 1, go. I love this. Supporting, creating, shifting people's paradigms, love, energy, astrology, yapping. I love that. Inspiring. Oh, so beautiful. These are so beautiful. Creating, philanthropy, empathy, hope, healing, caring, embodying self, insight and clarity, advising, championing. Ooh, I can hear everybody's astrology, by the way. Can you take note about the astrological strengths that you have that are showing up in your word? Advocating, presence. Beautiful, holding space for creating and healing. This is so beautiful. Look at how we are all holding each other. So let's move into the 6 astrological alignments that are really going to support us in this big picture. So again, this is not an exhaustive list. We only have so much time here and now, but these are the ones that I found the most interesting. So the first thing that happens, and it already has happened, Neptune already showed you, gave you a little preview of what it's like when it is in Aries. And to me, the theme for Neptune in Aries is forge your compassion. That's why we needed it so much in 2026 or 2025, right? Neptune was already sharing with us. And so you can see that Neptune dipped its toes in Aries for about 6 months in 2025, March through October, and now will fully arrive from 2026, all January 26th, all the way to March of 2039. Neptune, remember, it's process. It's a big blue gas planet in the outer reaches of the solar system. It is a spiritual planet who's here to show us how to transcend, which is to go beyond, rise above. It's to unify and interconnect, just like the ocean, just like Rumi says, we are all drops in the ocean. It's here to fantasize. It's here to create alternative realities because sometimes when we pop ourselves out of our current reality, we can envision something bigger and better for us. And Aries energy is about initiating, knowing yourself, going your own way, advocating, being your very best, lots of boldness and courage. And together, this is about forging your compassion. Now, Neptune moves really slowly in the solar system. It takes 165 years to go around. So it spends about 13 and a half years in each sign. And wherever Neptune goes, it can sometimes make us a little bit confused, a little bit cloudy, a little bit avoidant. But in reality, it's connecting us to something bigger than us. Whew, that scared me. And in history, the last time that Neptune was in Aries, we just happened to have the American Civil War. And of course, I'm in the United States. I'm in San Francisco and sometimes Hawaii. And you can kind of see how how the United States, at least, is very polarized at the moment. And so we shall see what happens in the next 13 years. But, we don't have control over what a nation is going to do. We only have control over what we are going to do. So as we are forging compassion, the opportunity, the invitation for us is what fires, right? So things that are happening to us are reshaping your compassion into strength. Right? All the hardships that you have gone through this year has forged so much strength and compassion in yourself. Whether this compassion is self-compassion, which I really certainly hope it is. Being nice to yourself is one of the most revolutionary things you can do. Being nice to yourself is one of the most revolutionary things you can do. And when you give compassion to others, to your children, to your parents, to your partner, what kind of strength and bond are you creating? And so every time we have this opportunity, we have an opportunity to dismantle a belief that no longer serves us. Usually this belief comes from the systems that we're born in, the systems that we inherited, the beliefs that we inherited from our family, our culture, our society, not yours. And the other invitation is to discover what is the possibility that you want to emerge. And so even though we had a taste of this in 2025, we are fully arriving in this in 2026. Devotion, meaning my actions are inspired, are spiritual. Strength in compassion, strength in vulnerability. I think Brene Brown, is she coming out with another book soon? Because we kind of need it. I don't actually know if she is, but this would be a great time. Is she? I see Alicia nodding. This would be like an amazing time for Brene Brown's work. She reframes this idea of shame and vulnerability in our leadership, self-actualization, advocacy, unity. Now, Neptune isn't the only planet that's entering the first sign of the zodiac, Aries. Saturn is also entering. And it was also there in 2025 from May to September, giving you a taste. But now in February 13th, all the way to 2028, April 2028, Saturn will be going through Aries. And wherever Saturn goes, it matures,
it defines, it creates mastery, it creates commitment, it creates priority. Yes, it can be focused. Yes, it can feel tight and contracting and hard, but that's why we lift weights to gain strength, to gain mastery. That's what happens when a diamond is under pressure. Coal is under pressure, it turns into a diamond. And so, whatever Saturn touches, it creates mastery, it crystallizes, it makes into a diamond. Brilliant. Doesn't feel like it at the time you're going through it, but the outcome, the result. And in Aries, we talked about Aries already in Neptune. So, crystallize your courage. How will you crystallize your courage to step into leadership? Right? We spent a lot of 2025 in like my cohorts talking about fears over money, fears over visibility, fears of like not being enough, not being heard. We're done talking about fear. Now we're talking about courage. Courage isn't the opposite of fear. Courage isn't the lack of fear. Courage is certainty in yourself to do the thing, regardless of the outcome. And so we are in the age of Aquarius, which, Pluto is now firmly in Aquarius. We are all being asked to lead. So are you courageous enough to lead? Now, Saturn takes 29 years to go around the sun. So you can look back 29 or 30 years ago, look in your diaries and your journals and go, what happened to me 30 years ago? What are those rhymes? What are those themes that came up to me when I was 30 years younger? What were the challenges? What were the learning lessons and the gifts? When you look back, you're going to see and hear the patterns, the rhymes, how it's going to repeat itself in your life this time. Now, history, yes, we had World War II, we had counterculture movement of, here in San Francisco, like the hippie movement, and the rise of individual expression. And so to become courageous is to have self authority and self expertise, knowing that your authority, your validation comes from within, not because somebody told you. It's about confronting challenges instead of running away from them. It's about focused mastery, so that looking at all your challenges, you're leading in with your heart into them. It's about defining your boundaries, knowing what you're going to say no to, allowing yourself to show fully up for what's important, honoring your lived experience. That's what my book is about in 2026 when it comes out. It's honoring your lived experience as your expertise. So Saturn and Aries. And so what's really interesting about both Saturn and Neptune is that actually they are meeting up on the world axes. The world axis is Aries of 0 degrees. This point, the world axis point, is such a critical point. And to me, this is asking us, how can I forge a human-centered identity in the age of AI? There's a whole presentation and an entire article that I wrote about Saturn, Neptune being the archetype of AI. And, I put here machine and consciousness, structural resolution, concentration and inspiration, Saturn, Neptune, institutions and dissolution, Saturn, Neptune, boundaries and transcendence. All of these themes, start to look at how these are working, how they worked in history. Berlin Wall falling, Tiananmen Square falling. Again, we don't have control over these global events, but we do have control over our own personal events. And this is really asking us to become more human. AI is here to stay, right? You can work with AI in really, good ways. There's good and bad in every tool. AI is a tool. Don't be afraid of it. Don't hate it. Use it as a tool and become more human. Because you know what? AI can't embody, can't imagine, can't discern, can't intuit, can't create relational depth, although it pretends to, and can't be spiritual and believe in something larger than yourself. So this is your call to become more human. Okay, moving on. I know this is a lot. All right. Uranus enters Gemini, just like Saturn and Neptune. We got a preview of this in 2025, but it is fully arriving in 2026 to 2023. And so Gemini is about community. It can be a global community. It can also be your neighborhood. It can also be your earliest community of your siblings and your cousins. Gemini energy is social. It's about sharing information so that we can synthesize new ideas. It is communicative. If you're not sharing your wisdom, how is anybody going to know your brilliance? And so when Uranus is going through Gemini, this is asking you to shake up your social circles. So this is the same theme from last year. And so this is really just galvanizing and asking you, who are you connected to? Who are the people that you want to challenge systems and revolutionize your bold ideas? Ooh, Malvina is hosting your first retreat. All the people that you will bring together. How beautiful. And so for those of us who are bringing people together, to honor Uranus in Gemini is to actually break the ice for people. Don't just bring people together and let them fend for it. Create exercises and integrations that actually allow people to get to know each other. In history, again, more World War II, Civil War, Florence Nightingale, the rise of mass literacy and publishing. Well, Uranus also travels slow. It's the other blue gas giant out in outer solar system that's tilted on its side. That's why it's kind of a maverick. It takes 7 years to go through every sign. In your chart, wherever Uranus is going to be going, it is going to disrupt things. It is going to challenge the status quo. For those of you who are Taurus risings and experience Uranus going over your rising sign in the last few years, you know what I mean. Any Taurus risings in here? I know there's a few. So, yes. So you absolutely know. And so, yes. And so for us Gemini risings, yay. In the next 7 years, this is what we get to look forward to. Gemini risings in the house. So find your aligned communities, make new friends, find people that have the same mission and vision as you and cross-pollinate. Okay? Make those invitations, get on LinkedIn, introduce yourself, do the brave outreach and up-level your communications. Again, if you're not sharing your wisdom, aka marketing, I know most people don't like marketing, but if you think about marketing as simply sharing your wisdom, then your people can understand your brilliance. Okay, this is a brand new one, this next one here. Chiron, the wounded healer, returning. Chiron returns to its original sign and where it was discovered in Taurus. Now, this is just a little teeny tiny preview, only for 3 months, from June through September, and then coming back in April of 2027 for the next 5 years. Chiron's process is to heal in others what you can't heal in yourself, to teach what you need to learn. To ask for consent, to mentor, and to realize that you are whole and enough, not broken. For those of us that have Chiron and Taurus, so these are the elder millennials, your lifelong question is it safe to have? The question that you have been answering your entire life, and I know that there's a bunch of Chiron and Taurus people here. How can I teach and learn to be more than enough in my body? I have enough. I have enough stability. I have enough security. I have enough pleasure. I have enough property. I have enough prosperity. I have enough sensuality. And so, fun fact, 50 years, Chiron takes 50 years to go around the sun, but it spends because its orbit is so elliptical, it doesn't spend an equal amount of time in each sign. It spends the most time in Pisces, Aries, and Taurus. And Chiron was discovered on October 18th, 1977. And so for most of us, we're really trusting that we have enough, that we are enough, that we are worthy. It is safe to be desired. It is safe to receive. All right. Next shift, Jupiter enters Leo. Whew. Got 2 more shifts, friends. Aren't you already like overwhelmed by all the information? That's okay. You don't have to remember everything. But for those of you with Leo placements, this is probably the 12-year cycle you've been waiting for. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, in heart-centered, loving, generous, playful, creative Leo. Yes, Sequoia. So for all of those that have Leo rising, Leo sun, Leo moon, a Jupiter transit over your natal Leo energies is going to feel so heart opening. Ooh, and Jameer is having a Jupiter return. Yes, so expanding your emotions, expanding your beliefs. Oh, and even Cassandra's Jupiter return. Oh, I love that. The big slow shifts happening together. Yes, it's so much, right? And so Jupiter entering Leo. Jupiter moves pretty quickly through the zodiac, spending 12 years through the zodiac, spending about 1 year in each sign. And so just like we did for Saturn, remembering 30 years ago and looking at the patterns and the rhymes, you can do this with Jupiter. So what happened in 2014? What happened in 2002? What happened in 1990? What happened in 1978? If you were alive, right? This is when you start to look back and reflect on some of the expansions, some of the benefic themes, the good luck kind of themes in your life, the big like horizon expanding, philosophical expanding things that happened in your life in these years. You can start to connect the dots to those patterns that are going to come up for you again in 2026. In general, when Jupiter is in Leo, gold prices increase. We have more wars in Gaza and Ukraine, which is kind of wild. High profile drama and entertainment, like celebrity news, royal news, and celebrities are the new royals, and religious and philosophical events. Some scholars think that Jupiter was part of the Christmas star, the night that baby Jesus was born. And so in Jupiter and Leo, when we're expanding our heart-centered leadership, remember in the beginning of our somebody asked, well, how do I choose which talent? And I was like, well, follow your bliss. What brings you the most joy? Because guess what? Play is productive. Play is how you learn. And for those of us that have forgotten how to play, me included, this is our call to start. I see you, Lonnie. This is our call to start experimenting, to start doing something just for fun. Even if you don't like it, you don't need to make a job out of it. You don't need to sell your creations. It is just to play, enjoy, because joy is a foundational, non negotiable element for a healthy life. And so I want you to note this with this play, like why play is so important. Like we've heard this theme over and over again. Lead with what you love. Yes, you can be well respected. Yes, you can be recognized. Yes, you can be reimbursed or paid your value when you follow your bliss. The more you give, the more love you will have. Leo is very, very, very generous. And when you give from this place of heart, not like I'm going to give money out of guilt to like every single family member that asks for it. That's not what I'm talking about. But when you give from the heart, you will always have more than enough. Leo is such an energy, it's the energy of the royal, it's the energy of the monarch. While we don't have a good model for royalty or monarchy, originally the royalty and the monarchy, the ones that were the most loved were the ones that took care of their people. Okay, last shift. This one I'm really looking forward to. But this is really stretching into collective, moving past applause. You're not here to do something to gain applause and recognition, external validation, all of the lights of Leo. Yes, we're going to still have that because Jupiter is there, but we're here to say what is good for the collective. Now, if you come from like an Asian society or a more like collective society, that theme is very, very like centered in you. For those of us who come from Western societies, especially in the United States, where like individualism and ruggedism is the way of the game, that's moving away. Yes, we still need your individualism, your individual contribution, but your individual contribution back to society. Aquarius is very humanitarian focused, social change. I put individuality here. It is about individuality in meaning that your own differences are so important, but it's progress for the people, progress for humanity. And Leo energy, where the South Node is going to be, where we're moving away from, it's about all of the shadows. It's mostly about being selfish, wanting to steal the limelight, about just doing things for accolades and recognition, doing things from a very selfish kind of place. Right? When I think of Leo energy in this way, I think of like the orange Cheeto and his like stunted like toddler behavior. Okay, y'all know who I'm talking about. That's the shadow of Leo energy. Okay, is like, the 78-year-old toddler who has too much orange makeup. Okay, that's the shadow we're moving away from. And so as we're looking at these nodes, Leo, this axis will be in effect for about a little more than 2 years. The nodes change every 19 and a half months and repeats its cycle every 19 and a half years. And so the last time the North Node was in Aquarius was back in December 2007. When the nodes change, so do the eclipses. And so those of us that have a lot of Aquarius and Leo energy, there are going to be some big shakeups come. That's right, Jameer. He is a Leo rising. Oh my God, I totally forgot. I'm only seeing his like Taurus midheaven and his Gemini sun. Thank you, friends. See, this is hive mind, collective wisdom here. North Node in Aquarius, together we rise, together we innovate. My differences are my contribution. I am enough. I lead by principle. What if there's a better and different way? And I create community. I want to know, and you can pop this in the chat, which of these energetic shifts excites you the most? Which is calling to you the most? All right. So Thank you for sharing that. So now we're going to go into these 6 trends. And so, as we're looking at these trends for leadership and business, again, this is for you to integrate and apply. So maybe you can shift some of your messaging, shift the way, you're reaching out to people so that you can be seen as the change maker. And so again, these will be on the slides because this is teeny tiny. But I want to talk deeply about each one of these and hear your ideas. So obviously, collective leadership. In my Astrobrand certification, we have the second cohort going on right now. And we had for the first time ever a community meeting with both cohorts. And I apologize to all of my certification folks that it took me so long to bring you all together. It was always a desire of mine to bring all together. And I felt like I had to do everything by myself, make all the decisions, make all, like, how is this going to move forward? Do all the things myself that I just kind of shut down. And also, this last year, I've been going through a lot of health challenges. I couldn't do everything myself, nor should I have done everything myself. And my fear of bringing people together was that how can I ask them to do more? I don't want to ask them to do more. They're already doing so much. How could I possibly ask them to do more? But you know what surprised me? Was that each one of them, Ishal, Karen, Cassandra, April, they said, we want to do more. When we do more, we're seen as the leaders. You're positioning us to be leaders in the community. You're positioning us to make connections to future clients. You're positioning us to practice and deepen our methodology and astrology. And I was blown away. And so to create collective leadership is to say goodbye to doing things on your own, but actually practicing and learning for not only to ask for help, but to set up your people to be leaders in your community. And so that was really, really, really powerful for me. And so, if you're running a solopreneurship, or you're feeling like you have to make all of these decisions alone, this is your call to start to build coalitions, to start to bring people on your team, even if you think that you don't have enough resources or you're not ready. This is about making decisions together. The second trend is AI expansion, right? Maybe after this Saturn-Neptune conjunction, we're going to have the AI bust, but I think, AI is here to stay. The thing that I didn't talk about, but there is also an article, and if anybody wants to read my article, I can put a link to that as well, about AI following this 36-year cycle of the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune, is that yes, while there is AI and expansion, you're gonna have to learn. I'm talking to all of you, how to use AI as a tool. This is not about outsourcing your ideas, your critical thinking, but this is learning how to work more effectively, work faster, and training your AI to learn your language, your thoughts, your philosophy. And so how are you going to start to integrate AI? Like Jeff and I use a lot of AI in our work, from editing emails, from putting together storylines and asking, AI to act as a developmental editor to fill in the holes. Of course, we edit and make things our own again. And the way that you learn AI, Malvina, is to play with it. Hop onto ChatGPT and start sharing your ideas, asking it questions, right? Alicia, yes, AI for leveraging and helping to enhance your work. Okay, so definitely this is here to stay. And the next trend is also Like we said when I was sharing about Saturn and Neptune, it's about differentiating yourself from AI. This is going to be really important for content creators, coaches, people who need their personal brands, people who work in marketing, branding, sales. How do you create an authentic identity, right? Aries is the sign of branding because it's about your identity. And for those of us who are in that industry, how do we create something that is so uniquely you that there's no way you can get confused with an AI? There's no way you can get confused with any other creator. So, leading with storytelling, leading with your values, leading with your lived experience, sharing the stories of the trials and tribulations that you have gone through and the learning lessons from those trials and tribulations that you pour back into your work. Antonia says, I nudged you to use AI back in 2023 and I appreciate it for a number of uses. Yes. Sequoia, I actually love AI. And so this is the two sides of the coin, right? Use AI and differentiate yourself from AI. Because if you just go into like ChatGPT and start working with AI, it's going to give you this like really flat return that sounds like everybody else. That you don't want that. Right? You want to still make it your own. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth trend in leadership is really the businesses that are cultivating wellness and stewardship. I'm kind of grouping this all together: wellness, stewardship, caring, nourishing. Remember being held? And Felicia said, how can I hold others? Well, this is the question. No matter what business you're doing, but definitely if you're in the wellness space, I know Cassandra does somatic healing. There's a lot of healers here. There's energy workers. And whether you are doing accounting or law or branding or astrology, guess what? You're holding people. You're helping them create a more well and balanced life, sustainability life. But if you're in childcare or human resources or any kind of caring industry, this is really a golden time for you. With with our Mercury retrogrades and water rethinking, this is also putting back value on emotional labor, emotional intelligence. Because guess what? Does AI have emotional intelligence? I mean, it pretends to be, but it's not actually creating compassion. It'll pretend. You can use it as a therapist a little bit, but it's just pretending. It's not creating the actual emotional bond. And those of us that can create this emotional bond and really truly show others that we care about them, their well-being, this is another way that we are going to succeed this year. All right, so for all of those folks that loved Leo, Jupiter and Leo, play creativity. Now, have you noticed in your neighborhoods? I notice this in my neighborhoods. There are so many ceramics and art studios that have popped up. And these ceramics and art studios are community gathering places. You see people there at all times and nights, right? People like working on all of their creative projects. I know Jeff was sharing that he and his partner have been doing a lot of like painting activities. If you are a creator, or like Malvina said, she was doing retreats, or you're bringing people together and gathering, be sure that you have something playful and fun at the center of your curriculum, of your run of show. And so if you have a brick and mortar business, we're going to see more of this. Studios for art and community building. Studios where people like Lonnie and me learn how to play. If you're a coach teaching other people, oh, I know somebody is here who's Carmen is here. She teaches people how to play. Mari May, yes, I'm almost crying. Nadine, this is great because I'm setting this up on my property this year. So excited. Art as wellness and doing retreats, workshops. Absolutely. Right? Colette Baron Reed in her new book, right? The Art of Manifestation. It's all about doodling and drawing circles just for fun. And that book is doing amazingly well. Right? So it's not all about hard work and business and seriousness. It's about really integrating the play and creativity in everything you do. Okay, last trend here. Innovations in craftsmanship. Now, I don't think that we have any like manufacturing or machine like materials people here, but if you know anybody, oh, Antonia maybe as an architect, um, because of that Saturn and Neptune, Saturn and Aries and Neptune, notice I use the word forge a lot. Forging is the process of, creating, hardening ceramics, creating glass, where you're applying a lot of heat to create a new material. And this is going to continue. There's going to be some huge innovations in materials manufacturing, 3D printing, ceramics, metals, glass, not just for us like commercially and creatively using this, but also in science and building and innovation and medical practices. We're going to see a lot of innovation in this. And this requires not just the engineering part, but this also requires artistry. So notice engineering, Saturn, artistry, Neptune. All right. So with that, one last poll for you. So in this year of 2026, in the survival of the collaborative, meaning all of us here, because we are here as a global community, which theme feels most alive for you? And so basically, I turn these into affirmations based on the different themes of the different planetary ingresses, the different planetary conjunctions. Which one feels most alive for you? I'm held and supported. My talent is needed. My compassion is strength. I have courage. I have courage mastery. There we go. My networks are awakened. I am safe to have. My heart-centered leadership expands. Yes. And so not only do I want you to pop this in the chat, but I want you to, whatever notes you have, a little post-it or something, I want you to write this down for yourself, so that you can really hold on to this for 2026, right? And do your best to choose one. And so, as we close up today, I have a couple of more slides for you. This is going to be the last event for a little bit. Some of you may already know that I have a surgery coming up on Monday, and I'm going to be taking a whole lot of time off. And even though I preach on my Zoom soapbox here to rest and recover and to not push, it is medicine that I am still learning myself, right? I'm teaching what I have to learn. And so during this time, I'm trusting that things will arrive. I'm trusting that my business will not burn down. I'm trusting that Jeff and I will be held. And so, there's a couple of ways that maybe you want to support us by supporting yourselves. If you also want a calendar, we do these every year. We have a version that you can print that, you can put together in a calendar format. This is what mine looks like from this year. It's all marked up, has all my notes on it. And then it also comes with an ICS, one of those digital plugins that you can put into your Outlook or your Google Calendar. And this is only $44. Now, this isn't something that somebody creates. Like, this is literally Jeff and me hand inputting every single event because we are putting the things that are important to us. The themes that we have for some of these bigger transits that we've talked about are also in the notes, so you can have these reminders. And so I know that, we do these every year and we're not so vocal about sharing it. Like, hello, are you sharing your brilliance? Oh, I've been kind of hiding, but we're sharing it now. So if you want this, you can always go to my website, starpowered.com/calendar. If this is helpful for you, we're making edits to them, so you'll see things that change. We'll add things as we get closer to like a new moon or something like that. So it's going to be chock full of notes and things like that. And in the new year, even though I said I wasn't pushing and allowing things to, yes, ever evolving, even though I said I wasn't pushing, these are things that I am certain are happening in the new year. So I know this is kind of small, so I apologize. We have the first event that's coming up. This is going to be my very next time that I'm showing up live after I rest and recuperate. This is going to be happening on the eclipse and lunar new year on February 17th. This is my annual event called the Vision Star Lab. And Vision Star Lab is not goal setting, not goal planning, but we are going to be charting the eclipses. We're going to be charting Saturn, the movements of Saturn, Jupiter, and Uranus, so that you could intend where by house you need mastery, Saturn, expansion, Jupiter, and breakthrough, Uranus. Okay, so this is a powerful event. It's going to be a 3-hour event. I know that's a long time, so mark your calendars. It's going to be 3 hours because not only are we going to be workshopping and doing this together, the Star Lab, the Vision Star Lab, putting our visions together, but we're also going to be doing an eclipse ceremony. And if you don't know me, like the Lunar New Year, that Aquarius new moon, which happens to be an eclipse, which happens to be eclipsing my sun this year, like what is going to happen? It's right on my sun. This is a big one. Okay, so I hope you join us. It's only $111 US. If you want to go deeper with me one-on-one. I have 10 spots opening for the year ahead readings, and you'll get the Vision Star Lab included with this, so you don't need to buy these two separately, but you'll get a 90-minute one-on-one with me, a full written report, a personalized report for your upcoming year. You're going to get your power dates, you're going to get your energetic seasons for the upcoming year, and during our 90 minutes, we're going to look at the opportunities and challenges that are, that you're being invited to learn from this year. So we're going to be, we're booking these for the end of January. So you'll get these one-on-one spots in the end of January, as well as your personalized written report. Yes, Nadine, you did the Vision Star Lab. And lastly, in the new year, the way that we're going to be teaching astrology is going to be a lot different because my capacity is going to really be cut after I get this surgery. And so I'm going to be putting all of my energy to where I have the most impact and the most love and the most desire. And that's into my Astroband certification. And the certification is now going to have two different pathways. One, a participant pathway where you want to learn this method for yourself, and a practitioner pathway where you want to work with this method with your clients. And so I just want you to put this on your calendar if this is something that is interesting for you, because our next year-long cohort will begin with Aries ingress. So when the sun moves into Aries along with the astrological new year in March of 2026. There's 6 months of training and 6 months of mentorship for a year-long program. And It is one of my favorite things to do, teaching people how to find their astrological voice, teaching people how to apply this method and have this like secret tool to use with their clients, teaching people how to work with more ease and impact in their business. And so if this might be interesting for you, feel free to take a look at this page. And if you want to start applying now, go for it. I'd love to hear your questions, but put that on your calendar for March 2026. And for the rest of you who are like, but I still want the community, I still want these different classes. It hasn't arrived yet, but trust me, there will always be a community, and so there will be space for you. All right. So with that, so I really appreciate all of you and for staying to the very end, 90 minutes. And my book is coming out in 2026, Astrology for Changemakers. So I'm also reserving a lot of energy for that. And so thank you for all of your well wishes. I will gladly receive any energetic and loving healing that you can send my way for Monday morning Pacific. And thank you for all of your warm wishes and healing. So you're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. And just again, thank you so much. We're almost at that 2-hour mark, and this is usually when I start to hit a wall, and I'm sure you're hitting a wall with this information overload. So just thank you. And if anybody's watching the replay and they got this far, again, just thank you so much. These, showing up and delivering and teaching, this is absolutely my joy. And so the more I can do this, the happier I am. So thank you for being here and receiving. Beautiful. Well, have a wonderful holiday season. Send me an email, send me a message, keep connected. It's just so wonderful to see all of you. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.
As a human design projector, my energy shines more brightly because of people like you who share my work. If you enjoy this podcast and want to help build a movement of innovative astrology and leadership and spark the intuitive revolution, please rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, or better yet, share this podcast with your change-making besties. We will all shine brighter together as we create the future we want to see.